Hey everybody, I'm Kavan, the co-founder of IndieFolio. Welcome to an incredible IndieFolio session with yet another industry expert. Today we have the extremely talented, award-winning creative director Nasheet Chaudhary with us. A winner of many awards like Cannes, Webbies, and Effies, Nasheet comes with over a decade worth of experience in creating stellar campaigns for some of the biggest names in the industry. He has spent several years in top-notch agencies like WK, Ogilvy, and Gray, and over 6 years as a creative strategist at Meta. Recently launched his own creative studio, Nasheet, focusing on digital advertising. He's here to help you avoid common mistakes marketers make in digital campaigns, share the best practices on creating digital ads, and discuss the future of digital advertising. Welcome, Nasheet. So excited to have you here.
Hi, thanks for the kind introduction, Kevin.
The first time I stumbled upon your work was when you had done one of these interiors of a taxi.
Yep.
And I remember a lot of people were sharing that work. And I remember it was like a very starry night kind of a style. And I was blown away. If I'm not wrong, it was also top on Behance for a long, long time. I remember we need to get in touch with Nasheed. He's incredible and probably can give back to the community. I think it's been several years since then. And you also kind of done a bunch of exciting things since then as well. So really excited to have you here. So I'll just jump right in, Nasheed. So let's start off with understanding a little bit more about your role when you were at Meta. I'm very curious about what were your responsibilities and what were the things you were actually focusing on.
Yeah. So at Meta, I was a creative strategist. So I was part of a global org called Creative Shop. The job of Creative Shop was basically it was a global team. The task was to, push globally all the top advertisers of Meta and their creative agencies who are partnering with them and push towards mobile first storytelling. So that is what Creative Shop used to do, and they still do it. And my role was to push the Indian industry, including big brands, the top advertisers on Meta, and their advertising agencies, as well as the whole ecosystem. For example, you have AR builders, you have bot makers. So I was almost at the center of all of it and helping push everyone and basically building case studies and challenging the norm that, we should push the bar of creativity further. And ultimately, what I had to prove was that Meta family of apps, which is Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they can become an engine of growth for brands if we use them well. So basically, in a nutshell, raise the creative standard of the platform. That was the basic task. And we were a global team, very lean team. In some ways, we built some projects. In some ways, we consulted brands. It was a very dynamic role of a creative strategist. And the experience at Meta was fantastic. The culture, the people, like, goes without saying, one of the best places to work.
Very interesting. At first, I was in the impression when I had a look at your LinkedIn, for example, that maybe this is creative strategy for Meta and its apps, but essentially you are a consultant for these advertisers, right?
Yes, in a way, you can say this.
Were you reviewing the campaigns they were doing, or were you co-creating campaigns with these
They were
companies?
different. Yeah, good one. So they were different roles. So in one way, we were just consulting, like, checking what's up with the new campaign. For example, Flipkart, Amazon Prime, all these brands I was directly handling. And so most of the time it was like consulting them, like do this better, like partnering with their agencies and but a major chunk was also focusing on building work. So for that, sometime we used to partner with their agencies. Sometime we would build something on our own. If something is like, for example, if something which is so unique that no one knows about, and we have to build examples of it. For example, when the chatbot, the first, the tech allowed us to create chatbots on WhatsApp. No one could create these things, but people who know the platform well.
Right.
So, these kind of very special cases, which would then, become as an inspiration for the entire industry. So then, when people have, so even when agencies have like three, four different cases, they can,
Right.
follow it and then they can build on. Otherwise, there is nothing. There is a new format. What do we do about it? So in those cases, we also sometimes co-created, but sometimes also created stuff. and a lot of time consulted.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm just taking a guess, but like, I'm sure when the whole vertical boom came, you must be playing an important part as to how to optimize everything for vertical. And
Yeah.
is that true? Like,
Yeah. So I joined in 2016.
okay,
That time, at that time, it's very interesting that there were no Instagram stories. Forget AR, etc. Like back 6 years ago, it was mostly like feed videos, and like little bit formats like you had Canvas, like that interactive space. So it was a very different world. Things changed so fast. So at that time, the biggest challenge in the beginning was people were just putting their TV commercial as it is, but
right,
and it does not work like that because you have to understand the medium. And then
correct,
when with stories first, with stories, and then the whole verticalization of this actually started to, you know, come into people's life, that vertical is also a thing. So
right,
then came Instagram stories. Then slowly, like every year, there was a new product. Then, then WhatsApp, then messenger bots, then augmented reality. So the whole in a way in 2016, it was the whole country was in a very early stage, and
right,
now obviously everyone is making content on for Instagram,
correct.
and so there is a big progress. But I joined at a time where I could see the change happening.
Wow. I mean, such a cool gig, yeah. Like, I think top marketers, founders, and even agency heads must be like really trying to understand, how to perform and what new tech is coming out. And being at the intersection is a very exciting job. I think what you must have developed is a very specialized knowledge, right, on what campaigns do really well. So I know, I mean, there's been some incredible campaigns you have done. Why don't you maybe unpack one, two campaigns for the viewers?
Yeah, definitely. So if you had seen my work, few things that I keep in mind is I usually my work ticks on three boxes. The work that I have done at Meta, first is culture, second is design, and third is technology. So these three things are, what kind of define my way of building stuff. So I've done like a lot of work for Amazon Prime, Flipkart, Vivo, Vodafone Idea, Hyundai, and also partnered with their creative agencies, co-created, sometime created. But I'll call out two projects which are one of my favorites. The first is recently done Chacha Chaudhary campaign for Inno. I'll tell you quickly about it, how it started. So there was a brief that Inno wanted to unlock the rural India. There was no case study of how, brand should get into rural India on mobile. It's a
Right,
like doing a billboard or doing TVC is a different thing, but digitally, how do you make content for rural India?
right,
Keeping the language barriers in mind and a lot of different barriers in mind, even format barriers, like you can't create an augmented reality suddenly.
right,
It won't resonate with the target group. So, and it was a thing that I was directly involved with the client, and we wanted to also make a prototype and a first case study. So it fell into a create zone, not even a co-create. So we had
understood.
to build one project, which actually, even from Meta point of view, we had to create some case studies of rural, because a lot of brands wanted to unlock rural, but they don't know what to do, especially on across Meta family of apps. So after a lot of thinking, what we did was, we thought, when I did my own research, there is a particular way of how rural advertising is done, like, or regional
Right,
advertising is done. It somehow, a lot of it is a bit stereotypical because of the lack of inspirational work, lack of maybe focus of, I don't know
right,
what could be the reason, but there is somewhere, there is a distinct imagery. For example, there is a tractor at the back of a guy who is wearing a turban and then is like, Desh ki mitti se bana something, something. That's the general way of how you will find if you Google rural Indian advertising. This,
right.
so we wanted to change it.
Mm,
Like, it was a creative challenge, and obviously we wanted to solve brands problem. So I thought of, instead of taking another celebrity who is doing like 50 other brands, who is endorsing a lot of things, why not take a hero of our own country, which our target audience, which was 30 plus, would resonate really well. Because in
correct.
digital, whatever you make has to be backed up with data. So what
Right.
we thought, I thought of introducing Chacha Chaudhary as the brand ambassador for for rural
Wow.
audiences. So Chacha Chaudhary is everyone is aware of it. And then we also did a bit of research and we realized that this target group, which is 30 plus, are the people who must have read Chacha Chaudhary during their childhood days. So we tapped on that nostalgia angle. And
Right.
there was data that proved that in these Hindi belt audiences,
Yeah.
Chacha Chaudhary is still a big thing. So a lot of in the hardcore Hindi market, Chacha Chaudhary comics are still read, is
Right.
popular. It's an Indian national hero, but
Correct.
it resonated really well. So then what we did is, so that cultural aspect is there. And then because Chacha Chaudhary is a very beautiful visual world that represents India in a very unique way, right?
Right.
The India they display, the style, there is a particular style and it's very visual that works beautifully with Instagram and Facebook because this new medium, the mobile phone design is highly visual. So
Right.
you cannot rely on dialogues or the conventional storytelling.
Correct.
We'll talk about how to build for feet in next section. So uh, so our idea was Chacha Chaudhary or acidity ka hamla. It's a perfect fit as a creator or influencer also because Sabu loves to eat lot of stuff. He's a big guy
Correct.
from Jupiter. And Chacha Chaudhary comes up with clever solutions. So we thought Sabu eats a lot, gets acidic problem, puts himself in trouble. Chacha Chaudhary comes and solves it. So that became just it fit like gloves. And then on top of it, we put that angle of how to build content for feed, so we translated those graphic style of Chacha Chaudhary. We did a bit of contemporization. We made them little relevant for feed, like how the illustration would come to life, how it will work without dialogues, and how we'll make thumb stopping content out of it. So we created around 40 plus comic strips in terms of animation, in terms of WhatsApp stickers, like a full on digital campaign which worked on across the funnel. So awareness, consideration, and then conversion. So campaign built for all these three buckets. And we also kept in mind that for people with lower signals, like people for 2G audiences, we should not make heavy videos. For them, we made static. So it was a very strategic approach for like for the villages which have slightly poor network. We created
Right.
content which was static because they are using Facebook Lite. They're not using the iPhone and stuff. So we created content for that audience.
Right.
And for the places where we realized there is better connectivity, we created longer videos and
Right.
carousels. And then comic strips also translated beautifully in a carousel because you got to swipe. You keep swiping and
Right.
then so this campaign and we partnered with the Pran, the original people who created Chacha Chaudhary, their team. I went to
Wow.
the studio, and this was just beautiful for a creative guy to And I also had a look at the first newspaper, the real hard copy at their studio, where Chacha Chaudhary's first comic got published. It was an Urdu newspaper.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So these things. So and then we did this campaign and everyone was very happy and luckily the results were so amazing in terms of brand in ad the message association after the BLS brand lift study was 2x APAC benchmark in the category.
Wow.
Lift in ad recall was 4 times the APAC benchmark. So it proved to be highly effective. So it's not just about getting it very into a very creative zone and creating something cool, but also something that delivers because there's the difference between digital and conventional. In digital,
Right.
you can't hide. You can't just say we created a sexy stuff and we assume that a lot of people saw it.
Yeah.
Here,
Correct.
how much time people are spending looking at your ad, everything is recorded. So that's why when we create content, keeping these principles in mind, keeping the behavior, the insight, platform insight, that complements the results and it kind of works. So, and also this got recently, just the last FE award, it got 2 FEs on
Wow.
effective.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So that was the first. This is one of my favorite because as a
Just to add there, I think, I mean, the whole Urdu newspaper is such a full circle for you. It seemed like the person,
yeah, yeah.
could have worked upon this. I have always wondered, I know influencer marketing works so well, but when you go to the tier 2, tier 3 cities, who is the influencer there, right? Because it's a very, I personally believe it's a cloud where a lot of influencers majorly talk to metro cities, and the influence is limited to that. But when you said Chacha Chaudhary, I think it makes so much sense now that you actually borrowed on a digital influencer who's generally been influencing the childhood of so
Yeah.
many people in their 30s now. So would you say that the whole recall memory value of Chacha Chaudhary was the thing which worked the most? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Like, even if you ask, in fact, if it may not be very relevant in Gen Z, but they still know about Chacha Chaudhary.
Right.
So it's a national hero, right? Chacha
Correct.
Chaudhary. It's like he is an older hero than the Bollywood celebrities. Chacha is like inspired generations, and that's why it made sense for the target group, because they were 30 to 45 audiences. Which, so if it was just a campaign for Gen Z, we would not have taken Chacha Chaudhary.
Correct.
Made sense for the audience.
Just curious, did you have, so when you went through this process in the conceptual stage, did you have like other characters, people, or IPs in mind, or Chacha Chaudhary came as an idea and it just stuck with
It just
everyone?
came as an idea, and the next day I shared this with the GSK team, Mayank, Bhavna, and other folk. They were just said, "Okay, that's it. We don't need new ideas. That's it." And I'm telling you, this is one of the examples where the whole process ran so smoothly. I can't tell you. In my entire career, I've never seen that you present an idea, gets approved, you get the vendor, the production on board. There is absolutely, it was just phenomenal how it happened, because I think when everyone believes in an idea,
Yeah.
everyone is a partner. There is no that this guy is a creative guy, this guy is a illustrator. Everyone is a team. So I think that was beautiful how it all.
Yeah, it's a dream come true, for a creative professional. Pehla I love wow.
Yes,
That's super rare which happens. Did you have to like buy out the IP rights and stuff like that?
yes, all that thing. Yeah, we
Oh,
did. So just like
got
an
it.
influencer, you take their intellectual property, and we also use their illustrators. So I wanted to make sure that whoever illustrates these things should capture the essence, because we can't compromise there. We are dealing with a legacy, you know. So I can't just get five new illustrators who will try to copy. Why don't get the people who still make these comics? So the illustrators who worked on this campaign are the illustrators who still make these comics from the Pran family. So we work
Wow,
with them. Yeah.
I mean, I think this is such a good validation even for comics and visual art, in the country. I feel we had a very strong one, but it's kind of died down. Like, I mean, amazing. The Spider-Verse movie just came out
Yeah.
where there is Prabhakar Karke, there is a Indian Spider-Man in that. And I just came across some trivia where Satyajit Ray and Stanley apparently had collaborated on this. I think I'm forgetting the exact name, but I think it was Pavitra Prabhakar. I could be wrong here, and they actually penned an entire character and a comic way back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Again, I don't know the exact date, but it got shelved. But Disney brought it back, and Sony brought it back, and everybody's really appreciating that. So again, I think very exciting to hear this because we also do a lot of comic book art, and such great comic talent is there in
Yeah.
India. But they have very few opportunities to really bag. So yeah, I think hopefully, more brands hear this and they kind of leverage comic book art because clearly the data speaks for itself, right? That it really, really works.
Yes, absolutely. One more thing I did was, when I checked that the presence of our own classic heroes on internet was very low, which was a little surprising for me as well. So what we did, we also got Chacha Chaudhary on Instagram, and we also got it a blue tick, and just worked with them to sort of help them create more content on
Wow.
for mobile.
Wow. Awesome. I mean, great campaign and thanks for that. I believe you had another
Yes. So the second one is a different one, which is, so I was also leading Flipkart from Meta, like guiding them and like partnering with their agency, which is I think Denso at that time. So every year we used to do something very cool during Big Billion Days. That was their key event, and like lovely folks, clients, and everyone, like all the folks, we all wanted to do something cool. There are clients who they don't come in a meeting and say, "Ki, do you have five ideas?" There are the people say, "Do you have one must idea?" That kind of cool folk.
right.
So luckily, the chemistry was really good, and for 4 5 years we worked every year on Big Billion Days. So I'll tell you what we did in 2019. So WhatsApp was progressing, and we could develop a one-on-one kind of a chatbot for a business. So, and I was aware of it because I was the creative strategist. So I thought, why not, use? So that's the thing. So technology and formats will be there. What you got to do is first understand what can happen and then put the layer of creativity to it. So what I tried is, I thought, if this is opening, why not make a case study where, Amitabh Bachchan, what if you could talk to Amitabh? And
Nice.
the ultimate goal was to hype Big Billion Days and make shopping fun. Apart from the lot of PowerPoint slide, that was a summary of it. Make shopping fun, because it's otherwise it's just about discount.
Correct.
It can become transactional. So what you do is, again, like, put the creative filter, put the creative hat, and see what can happen. So the idea that we worked on was Big B bot. The kind of, we started with this kind of lines कि हम जहाँ खड़े होते हैं, deals वहीं से शुरू होते हैं, that very Amitabh Bachchan Bollywood world. So what happened is that we created a full bot working with Dentsu Web Chutney in Amitabh Bachchan's tone of voice. So you say hello and Amitabh Bachchan replies,
Right.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे, that kind of very cool Bollywood trivia. So the bot was in English as well as in Hindi. It was a bilingual bot.
Nice.
Oh, what happens is, you you see, and so I'll tell you the journey. You see a click to WhatsApp ad on your Facebook
Right.
feed or Instagram. You tap on it as a call to action. It opens your WhatsApp. And then
Okay.
in WhatsApp, you start talking to Amitabh, and Amitabh Bachchan comes and says, "Hey, kya haal hai?" That kind of. So it's a one-on-one with Amitabh Bachchan, and then he gives you challenges. Asks
Okay.
you questions. So ultimately, you can answer the quizzes and unlock deals.
Ah.
So a Big B will say, "I'll ask you two questions. If you answer me, तो तुमको डिस्काउंट मिलेगा, कूपन कोड, यूनिक कूपन कोड मिलेगा." सो दैट काइंड ऑफ वन ऑन वन कॉन्वर्जेशनल कॉमर्स. और इसमें भी also put lot of more interesting thing. For example, in the main menu, first was Bollywood trivia with Amitabh Bachchan. Second was emoji fake. So because Big Billion Day is for 5 to 6 days, so every day
Right.
some deals change. So
Correct.
what we did, कि अगर आप you send an emoji of TV on 5th date X, it will tell you the best TV deals on that particular day.
Ah.
If you send an
Nice.
emoji of shoe, it will tell you the best shoe discounts. So इस तरीके से we made this fun. People could unlock deals, and it became a big case study. Lot of like good PR, like, because people had not seen something like this
Yeah.
on a WhatsApp. Like, your Big B, a brand is in your inbox, and you are spending a lot of time talking and having fun while
Right.
unlocking deals. So that
Right.
was a fun part of it. So the results were also phenomenal. Like, in just 5 days, there were millions of conversations, and the best compliment was average time spent per user was 9 minutes.
Wow.
There were some people who just could not get over it. Like, they would keep coming back. They spent like 60 minutes talking to Big B, and 130K were, I think, the number of users, millions of conversation, and also a lot of incremental revenue,
This
which,
is all in that 6 days, huh?
yeah, in just 6 days, five
Wow.
days. So I think that was a very distinct kind of campaign, which was not just
Yeah.
a video, it was not just a conventional thing, it was a WhatsApp chatbot. And
Right. Right.
and also, then, apart from results, it also got a good fame in the industry. So a lot of like awards, lot of like marketing awards, and so good, feels good to be recognized.
I think brilliant campaign. I mean, my dad's a huge fan. I'm sure if I had known it, you would have spent half an hour just talking to the chatbot.
Yeah.
What I love is there is this concept I've recently learned called perceived value, where you have, of course, value you create, but can the perceived value be higher? So I think this fits in perfectly there, where discount. But what if I play a quiz with Amitabh Bachchan to unlock that same discount? I feel happier, and the value of
Yeah.
getting that actual prize is so much. I feel so much more excited. So I
Correct.
think that's generally a fundamental trait also of perceived value, which kind of plugs in there and worked very, very well.
You got
So
it right, man. Because In fact, when we were pitching this idea, we told client that the insight is also that in India we are very smart shoppers. We just
Right.
don't want to get discount or get a deal. We want to win it. And that tug of war between the seller and the buyer is in our genes. So we want to keep unlocking even with a dukandar. Arey bhai. So that kind of, I think that resonated well with the audience as well, that there is a deal, but how can we gamify it? How can we win
Right.
it?
Bang on the inside, I think people are so proud कि यार मुझे never मिला कि I did this, so people are really proud of, they have pride in this negotiation or this unlocking or the winning aspect.
Correct, correct.
So very, very true. I actually would love to learn a lot more about your campaigns because you've done a decent bunch, and I'm sure we'll put this on the screen. I want to hop on to the next question, Nasheet. So, you know, I want to now just highlight some mistakes, which people make. And you, again, will have a lot of insights on this front, right? Because you are hired essentially to improve upon something people have already created or they've come to you with a base and you're trying to tighten that. So, a lot of people who will listen to this will be marketeers, entrepreneurs, creative directors, or, folks who are aspirational, like you are an aspirational person, they want to be in your shoes. Can you paint a picture in terms of what mistakes are generally there and what do you do to tackle them?
Yeah. So the biggest one is not building for mobile.
Okay.
So so what happens is advertisers usually spend a lot of money in like other platforms and other channels. And now the easiest thing and the quick solve is, just put that stuff and optimize it. You know what? Like if it is a horizontal video, just make it a square and try to do the hygiene correction and put it. But unfortunately, we have seen with like hundreds of thousands of campaigns that optimization helps, but what actually helps if you really want to move the needle, then you got to build for feet. And when we say build for feet, there is the difference. For example, so suppose there was a existing campaign about Amitabh Bachchan asking you to go to Big B, which already happens. Which there is a TVC for that. So if I put a square TVC and put do some changes, which is good, but that will not be like a WhatsApp bot. That is built for mobile. Because
Right.
so when we say build for mobile, what it does is it uses the platform insights. It also uses the consumer behavior on the platform. So if I'm on mobile, I'm also like people love using WhatsApp. So on the WhatsApp bot, what we did, people already love WhatsApp. People love Amitabh Bachchan. People love shopping during Big Billion Day because that is the IPL of shopping. So these insights of WhatsApp on this is all very mobile first insight. This idea cannot be done on a TV. So I think that building for mobile first comes from that build for the platform. It's a very simple thing. For example, when I write a radio, it is different than when I write a film. Hence, when I make stuff for Instagram, and also the medium is slightly more complex. The digital world is just getting more complex, isn't it? Like there are more platforms. Like every
Right.
2 years there are it changes.
Correct.
So I think building for mobile is very is better than just optimizing or adapting for mobile,
Mhm.
because if we are just optimizing and adapting and we are looking for benchmarks, we are looking for results that will change your business, I think you should relook at it and actually start building for. So this is the first big thing, which is a little hurdle for brands who are still kind of focusing more on traditional and they're
Right.
looking to unlock the digital part for them for mobile. And another thing with which happens sometimes is some brands and some creators get stuck in the social jail. So
Okay.
it's a very interesting term, social jail, that when you are building for likes and engagement only, that means you are trapped in a social jail where your organic followers who can be from anywhere, they might not be even your right target audience for your particular project. So there is a difference between organic and paid advertising. But
Right.
sometimes that kind of people build campaigns, but they're still looking at like likes, engagement, and shares. Because a paid campaign is a very different one. For most
Right.
brands, you won't see on their timeline like this Chacha Chaudhary campaign. Mostly, It was not on their Instagram handle because it was targeting the people in those
Correct.
small towns. So you might not even see. They are
Correct.
running parallelly. I think don't just go for likes and engagement. That is your organic part. But utilize the potential of the platform, be it YouTube, be it Instagram, be it Facebook. Understand your audience. There is more science to it, and especially the target group. Like if I'm
Right.
reaching out to people who are more likely to buy from me, even if they are like 1,000 people, they are better than 50,000 people who are liking my post. But what? Okay, my post went viral. What now? My
Correct.
business is still not booming. So there's no point in that.
Right.
So some brands need to take care of that. But overall, I think when we are moving forward, everyone is getting more aware of digital. So this part is somewhere the education is already there. So people are actually improving these on this part. So I think very soon this won't become a very big hurdle. And
Okay.
and there is the third point which uh, again and again I want to demonstrate it through all my work, that brands, creators, they underestimate the power of visuals. I keep repeating that mobile is a very visual led world.
Hmm.
Right? We are living in a very visual world.
Correct.
Right. So now
Correct.
what we got to understand is the way we know advertising, the way we know communication has changed. For example, most people still consider the idea of video as a TVC. For example, there are things that have worked for TV commercials, which is great, like voiceovers and the traditional way of storytelling.
Right.
But mobile is a highly visual platform. It's a very, very visual world. So which on a surface level might just show that okay, it's we'll put subtitles. But that's again just a bit jugaad and optimization, not building for it. Right.
Right.
So it changes a lot of things because like if you see this Chaudhary campaign or the stuff we have done for Comikistan and a lot of other things, they are very visual, you know. So I think we somewhere brands try to underestimate the the idea of mobile as a very visual medium.
Hmm.
So which means like your beautiful design, typography, motion graphic, they should be like cutting edge. So what happens is when a designer says that it got to look pretty, the aesthetics in. So now it's not just about aesthetics. It makes sense because your ad will perform better if it is more good looking. Because if it is more good looking, if it is attention grabbing, if it is sexy, it will be thumb stopping, right?
Right.
If it is thumb stopping, then you're grabbing people's attention in a very crowded place. So it's critical that your ad, your photography, everything, like how we say, like, in fact, this Instagrammable is in a common parlance, like if we
Correct.
see a sexy sunset, we don't say it's sexy. Sometimes we say it's very Instagrammable, right?
Right. Right.
So this new age has also uplifted the overall bar of aesthetically pleasing stuff. Look at the metaverse visual. Look at, everything is just so now good looking.
Right.
So we got to, focus on good design, good typography, good
Right.
and graphic. This become very critical in this new visual age.
Awesome. I think, to sum up, mobile first, don't fall into the social jail. And of course, make it aesthetic as much as possible. On the last point, if I can just add, as a creative person, also, I also always feel like whenever I'm working with brands, they're always like, nahi, ye sab to bolna padega. And that actually defeats the entire purpose where they have to understand that I don't have time to think. You're in competition every 2 seconds. There are like 1 million reels niche. So if you're going to put so much clutter and so much conversation and so much text, take time. Like we have less time now to convince people. Pehle to matlab you have only 2 seconds to actually do your bit. So fully resonate with you, Nasheet. I actually have a question, and this is a common requirement as IndieFolio we get very often where brands are like reels banana hai, etc. And a lot of brands end up making these animated reels, whenever I consume reels, it's essentially people, right? People are doing things, they are dancing, they're joking, they are doing some challenges and stuff like that. But a brand is usually like, hey, buy my insurance, buy my product, or subscribe to my SaaS platform. So how can a brand actually leverage a reel? Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you need to hire a content creator, or like how do you crack that? It's always been a
So
confusion.
this is a very very relevant question. Like I'm getting this from a lot of my clients also, and it's also somewhere a bit challenging.
Right.
So let me try to simplify it. There are two worlds, right? There is this one world which is the world of reels, which is a performance theater, right? It's a place where performances are happening.
Correct.
It's a theater. Now then there is this world where I have a product and I want to sell.
Right.
So now what's happening is the reels will not come to you. You as a brand, you are going to that world. Now if you go to that world, what do you do? Like when in Rome, right? That kind of thing. So I think the the realization should be that if we are entering into a world as a brand, we should first understand this place. So for
Correct.
example, if I just go and say कि ये खरीदो, that it's a little tricky if it works or not. But if you basically build your content basis the behavior of reels. For example, I'll tell you an example. So for Flipkart, last to last year, because reels started 2 years ago, reels were taking off like really big. So for Flipkart, what we did is we thought let's do something on reels because reels are catching up, and this is actually before every brand was doing reels. We did
Okay.
something with Flipkart. So उसमें क्या था? So in that time in the beginning, this kind of trends, the trend was that song पीछे song चल रहा है, that before
Ah,
after kind of thing. Okay,
correct.
this and then. So just the tune. And उसपे there is a performance angle. We built a before and after. We actually designed a sound audio.
o-
Okay. And then we got a lot of influencers. The sound was before after. So like
Okay.
it was first was a build up, and then
Right.
it was music changes and like boom 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 boom. So उसको
Yeah.
हमने क्या किया? It was in two parts. के
Okay.
before this is how I was before. After Flipkart Big Billion Days, this is what happened. So
Nice.
instead of instead of just showing the usual content of Big Billion Day RI and this, we did a trendy sound design, and uske baad we got influencers to push it, and then a lot of organic content also came, and it became a so it belonged to that world. So we got
Got it.
to understand the platform and then go prepared rather than just going inside out. So use the popular trend. There are multiple ways to, for example, if there are a particular kind of memes or, like meme is a very internet term, right? So very mobile. So maybe, you do a bit of memification and
Right.
like there are 50 ways to do it. So tap on the existing, and I'm not just saying that just follow the trend blindly, but I'm
Right.
saying your ad should belong to that world. Otherwise, it won't be thumb stopping.
Right. I love the whole performance. It's like a performance theater kind of an analogy where it's like I've bought a ticket to watch performances. So as a brand, you better perform for me. Like you
Correct,
probably come
correct,
and show me that trend or get on that challenge or something along those lines where it's a very nice thing you said, where it's actually art you're creating. It's not
correct.
just like ads, and very literal format. So yeah, I love that. So Nasheet, next question I have is there a magic formula or a sauce out there, right? Where I'm sure you must have seen ki some things must be working so well while the other ones may not be working that well. And is there a pattern, any advice you have to kind of create this feed content or create a digital campaign which blows up?
Yeah, yeah. So there is no magic formula, but there are basic thumb rules.
Okay.
Right. So there are thumb rules to create thumb stopping content. And but first understand why do we need a separate set of rules for mobile. So let's first get into the why of it. So first of all, we should realize that mobile feed, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or even LinkedIn.
Mm,
So this mobile is a very, very crowded place.
mm,
This we all know there is a content overload. And and a little challenge for brands is your content, your ads. Firstly, people are not there to watch ads, right? And
Correct.
people were never there to watch ads, neither on
Correct.
TV nor on radio. People don't like advertising because advertising is generally, if it is boring, if it is a disturbance. So that is a point. Now, mobile is such a crowded place that your content, if you make an ad, it's not competing with your rival brand. Your competition is that sexy, cool content which is getting viral, which is being recommended by platform, which your friends are posting. And this can vary from, so suppose you are an e-com company and you are selling something, and imagine the feed of the person. There is this your ad, and then uske आगे there is करीना कपूर के क्यूट बेबी फोटोज, उसके पीछे there is शाहरुख खान के बेटे ने कुछ कर दिया, उसके पीछे योर फ्रेंड्स आर गोइंग टू यूरोप, वो अपनी जा रहा हूँ, सो इट्स अ वेरी डिफरेंट वर्ल्ड इसको, राइट? मोटा मोटा दिस इज हाउ इट इज, राइट? दैट्स व्हाट वी
Correct.
कॉल थंब स्टॉपिंग. So
Correct.
when I'm scrolling, if I send something which is ad of this, I will try to, unless it's interesting, unless
Right.
it actually grabs my attention, right?
Right.
So
Correct.
first, this context that it's a highly, very, very crowded place where everything is competing with everything else. That is the very
Right.
basic, that why we need to, now the need to stand out is even more critical, because
Right.
it's difficult to stand out इन अ क्राउड जहाँ पे इतनी मजेदार वायरल कंटेंट चल रहा है, इतना कुछ कूल कंटेंट चल रहा है, राइट? अब नाउ व्हाट डू वी डू? इज देयर अ मैजिक फॉर्मूला? नो, बट आर देयर सम बेसिक दैट वी शुड कीप इन माइंड? यस. फॉर एग्जांपल, द फर्स्ट इज डिजाइन फॉर साउंड ऑफ. So now usual storytelling, what we think. So if I'm just putting a video TVC or a general YouTube video on Instagram, or so it might not work, because a lot of time people are on mute, right? People are just, मैं meeting में बैठा हूँ and I'm scrolling, right?
Right.
So and it was a big study done by Meta only, that, and it's like there are thousands of campaigns behind what I'm telling you, and there is
I know.
data, and it says
Right.
designed for sound off, and which changes a lot of things. Now if I have to create campaign without audio, what will I do? Either I put subtitles, or I create content where subtitles are not even required. So if you
Right.
see one of the campaigns I did for SpiceJet, that is a classic example of made for feed. The whole campaign is about visual gags. So there is
Okay.
not a single dialogue. You are on mute, you can still enjoy it, and it's very visual. So imagine those Charlie Chaplin films,
Right.
those early days, it needs no dialogues.
Right.
So that like it's all visual, and there are thousands of ways to do it. It's a creative challenge for us, and
Right.
so these are the things that are really important. So design for sound off, and it does not mean just put subtitle. Actually, build content where it's very visual storytelling. Right. Now, the second point is capture attention quickly. And so I'll give you an example. So suppose I have to optimize something. So I have a TVC जहाँ पे 30 सेकंड का बिल्डअप है, एंड penny drop moment end में होता है, there is a this, which is great, right? Because there is a particular storytelling. शुरू
Correct.
में मैं अपना सस्पेंस नहीं रिवील करूंगा, राइट? सो बट
Correct.
that's more of a TVC or radio or conventional advertising behavior, because if the best point is coming towards the end and the opening is boring, I might not even reach the end, because I will
Right.
just scroll. क्या आ गया
Correct.
भाई, ठीक है? So the opening 5 seconds are critical. So the opening 2-3 seconds are very critical, but you should hold their attention by the first 5 seconds. It should be like, it should be very action packed. Chaudhary one, every time it starts with Chacha Chaudhary winking, tuck, and then getting into the camera. So it's like
Okay.
very sudden motion, you know. So when I'm
Right.
scrolling on my feed, it suddenly there is this motion. So it hooks me in a way. And then there is this
Got it.
bright, nice pink color. And then the first shot is also a little action shot. It's a
Got
key
it.
visual. So you
Got
got
it.
to hold their attention shuru mein. So
Right.
start dramatically, capture attention quickly. And this is all happening because we have lower attention spans. People will
Right.
scroll past, right? So third is very simple, which is keep it short, because attention spans are dropping. you better keep it short. If you have a longer content, what I suggest is you keep the longer content, but make one edit which is shorter. So so because we don't need to win all battles with one creative, right? We can always have multiple set of creative. So this multiple set of creative is a good thing. So you have a film, you cut it in a 20 second, you cut it in a 10 second, you cut it in a 5 second, which is very heavy product led. So then you can also, use the funnel approach. You can एक performance asset के लिए product पहले. So for the Inno one, the performance वाला बड़ा बड़ा product shot लेके like foreshortening, he is standing with a line. ये भी था और 20 सेकंड की वीडियो भी थी एंड देन देयर वर अदर स्टफ आल्सो सो दैट डिवाइड दिस एज पर इट सब कुछ एक फिल्म एक वीडियो से जीतना नहीं है ठीक है सो दैट्स दीज आर द थ्री थिंग्स सो डिजाइन फॉर साउंड ऑफ कैप्चर अटेंशन क्विकली एंड कीप इट शॉर्ट नाउ दीज आर द वेरी थंब रूल्स के अलावा वन टू मोर थिंग्स आई विल से दैट कम फ्रॉम पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस दैट you need to know the format really well because in order to be very creative with a format you can't break it unless you know the rules so you got to know the play first you have to play by the books so you need to know कि, okay this is this AR thing suppose AR may when the AR launched the limit was only 2 MB so the whole augmented reality on Instagram you could not put anything beyond 2 MB now I can't suddenly come up with a 3D heavy graphics and so you need to first know the rules what are the restrictions of that particular format and the only complex thing I find is like every platform has multiple formats every format has their book rules are totally different from other formats so it all I'm not saying it's all very easy and and it also keeps changing so now later that AR restriction was updated to 5 MB and so these things keep changing so I think you have to know these things make it a habit of understanding कि ये क्या क्या rules हैं क्या क्या आप कर सकते हैं this is mainly for the creative folks right to know the rules and the last and the most important point is experiment that's so this is like again this is not rocket science this is still people creating content using something right something so this is still a platform so you got to experiment and do a test and learn approach you got to if you are in doubt you can make two different sets maybe do a test and learn approach see which one performs well and creatively always like know the platform but then put a layer of creativity like how I tried to do with WhatsApp bot I knew that this is what you can do with a bot and then you put an idea so idea will always be a your brain creative brain should always be the hero.
Got it. Got it. I think Nasheed, this was like some liquid gold you've just kind of given to all the viewers here. Cause very actionable insights. This is something I can literally open up my ad set tomorrow and start working on. So thanks a ton for that. I believe the last two ones, are things people know, but mehnat hai, and that's why a lot of people are like, okay, A/B testing will do, and then they never end up really doing it very well. I actually just very recently had the pleasure of talking to someone who is one of the biggest spenders on social in the world, actually, US based. And he told me a very interesting thing, which is essentially experimentation, where they literally used to run 1,000 adapts every day. 1,000 ads. Like, forget A/B testing. This is 1,000, right? And he's like, Kavan, you will not believe randomly some designer has made some ad set somewhere उसमें absurd amount of CTR आ रहा है because it's something sometimes it just works
Yeah.
and that's the actual advantage of social and digital which nobody leverages क्योंकि टीवी पे तुम लोग एक ही मीडिया चला सकते हो because it simultaneously plays one time like your IPL ad but on digital yeah you can serve literally 10,000 ads also and Facebook will do the heavy lifting of telling you what's actually working and this is where people fail they make 5 6 things and then they are like chhod do but actually I think platforms like IndieFolio just to kind of like IndieFolio too we get a lot of mandates here right, from good marketers they're like yeah fine you made this one ad set na give me 50 versions of this give me 100 versions of this and we're usually hired for that because that generally helps like I've seen things like background black se white ulta kabhi kabhi for some different audience and this is what people don't do so thanks for the validation Nasheed I think the time's, getting over, and I want to ask you two more questions, the last two questions. So I'll straight jump into that. I want to know about Nasheet now. सबसे पहले तो why the name?
So this is more of my digital signature. So
Okay.
this is a digital version of Nasheet, which is Nasheet.
Okay. Understood. Understood. And tell me more. Like, why did you want to leave such, swanky mandates and go on your own? It's very scary to do that. And after that, what do you do today? Like, what's your
Yeah.
focus area? What kind of work are you doing? Let us know.
Yeah. So like I think growing up as a creative person, like I had a background in traditional advertising for around 9, 10 years across different kind of places with totally different work cultures, right?
Right.
And in fact, across Singapore and India, and then getting into the digital, and for 6 years, like focusing on one platform and its different formats and this. So I think for me, growing up as a creative person is a lot about getting your own freedom to do what you want to do, right? And what I want to do are actually not just one thing. If you've seen, I have a very multidisciplinary outlook. So
Right.
I also have a lot of design background. I love creating stuff also, from illustrations to cracking big ideas, solving big challenges. So it's, there are a lot of multiple aspects to what I want to do.
Correct.
So I think with that kind of freedom that I wanted, the kind of different kind of works I wanted to do, so I thought let's try something of my own where I could do all of it under one roof. Because with Nashate, I'm also not calling it an agency, because when I call it agency, I'm not getting that much freedom, right? I want to have more flexibility, and this is just we have just started like 5, 6 months, and so primarily what we are doing is we are focusing on building mobile first content that we just discussed. So in a nutshell, we want to build for mobile, and inside this umbrella there can be a lot of things that can happening. I'll tell you what we are doing. So when we say mobile first work, it means the work that is also leveraging platform insights, that's also focusing on user behavior, right? That is specifically customized for mobile, right? This that uses insights and data and everything. And under this, there are a lot of different things that we are doing. For example, I'll tell you what we have shipped so far, and we are very proud of it. Like a Holi campaign for WhatsApp. We designed exclusive wallpapers for Holi for WhatsApp Global. We also did make an AR game for Instagram, and we
Oh, wow.
partnered with Ronin Labs, who are my old partners from my Meta days, like fantastic folks who developed this AR game design and this. So we still work closely. We designed this AR game of 5G, right? So it's a 5G speed game. It's on in Airtel's Instagram handle. You should go and check it out.
We'll check
So
it out.
this and WhatsApp sticker project, a
Okay.
bank on Women's Day, around financial freedom. On top of it, we are also helping, because I have a background in design, like from branding identity to this. We are also helping a lot of startups find a digital identity in this new digital space. So it's how your logo design and stuff will
Wow.
behave in this new dynamic world. So, for example, logos are not what they used to be like 20 years ago, because branding has also changed. This mobile first approach, how your logo is not just a static symbol, right? It's an forever evolving kind of icon that takes different shapes. So
Right.
that approach and a lot of multiple things, and the the most exciting and most time consuming are the digital campaigns. So a lot of good mobile first digital campaigns similar to what I was telling you. We are also doing those. They are in pipeline. So very excited. And in terms of ways of working, we are a very lean team, and we're focusing on, like, our approach is very minimalist business approach,
Okay.
and we believe in radical simplicity. And
Okay.
we are a very lean team, like
Mhm.
6, 7 people who are full time, but we have these amazing collaborators on board. So we have these game developers, we have these new age production guys,
Right.
who like Ronin Labs and like a lot of other folks who build amazing things in the tech world. So
Right.
these are also our partners. So it's a very dynamic way of working. And honestly, it's just 5 months. So
Right.
it's a journey. I mean, would we're so excited about what we do in future. So that's it. I mean, it's
Awesome,
a
Nasheed.
learn
I
on
think
the way.
you've already done so much. So I can't wait to see what all you do going ahead. And this is very exciting for me because we are in such a great time in the world where if you have some great expertise and even if you're independent, the best brands in the world are now open to collaborate with such young and independent companies. Actually, pehle to it was like an impossible thing to do. So if there's any creative strategist, director, designer, copywriter looking at it, and if you want to get that control and freedom which Nasheed spoke about, I think if you have great work and good data to back up your work, the world's your oyster, especially even in a country like India now. There's a lot happening. So I'm very excited to kind of hear that. We'll link Nasheed and all the other handles and specifics also in the description and everywhere. So if you want to check it out and maybe even get in touch with Nasheed, go for it. Mind you, he's very busy, so getting his time is going to be difficult. but but I'm sure they will figure a way to work with you. So thanks for the download, Nasheed. I'll come to the last question. Now, just to set up the question, right? We also spoke a lot about influencer marketing today, and a lot of people think, yeah, feeds and all work only when there is an actual influencer who endorses you, especially in the B2C realm, right? So a lot of people are like, will this branded content more or less go away? Will it die down? And then recently, I'm sure you're aware, this whole chat GPT AI is all up here, कि यार future of advertising will be fully automated. कि button दबाओ और ad set, it'll start targeting people and nothing you have to do after a point in time. What's your outlook here? I don't want to ask you what's the next 20 years or something like that. उसको सब change हो रहा है.
Yeah.
But let's take 3, 4, 5 years, right? 5 years. What's your outlook on the future of advertising, especially digital advertising?
Mhm. Yeah. So, I'm a very optimistic guy, right? So firstly, I believe, technology is is capable of pushing the boundaries of creativity. So for
Right,
creative people like us, future is super exciting because
right,
see more platform, more design opportunities, more opportunities for businesses to reach out to their audiences through different
right,
channels. So ultimately, we should be happy as creative industry that there is going to be even a bigger boom. This is what I personally feel. Now,
right.
there are few things that I think somewhere are already happening and might be more visible in coming years. So, for example, and these are just my predictions and observations. No one knows about the future. Tomorrow, something can happen. So, so I think first big difference is it's not going to be just about a big idea. So we keep hearing this thing that big idea, big idea, big idea, which is great. We will always need a big idea. But let's go back to a time when we cracked a big idea, which was in a conventional way, was mostly a tagline, right?
Correct,
Which would articulate, suppose just to say, Thanda Matlab Coca Cola.
correct,
Now there were, so it was such a strong, insightful line that would automatically translate to things. So you just put it on a billboard, say this, and put a bottle of the product, and the message is done, right? But now this thing is also changing because
mm,
if I have to use WhatsApp, I just can't put a static image with a tagline and product shot, right?
mm,
So what I'll have to do is understand the platform first. So
mm,
the big idea will not automatically translate into these complex platforms.
mm.
You have to understand this. So there is no choice but to go and actually study them
Right,
and keep updating yourself that this is what a trend this year, this is what. So it's a lot of study and research and like general knowledge and keeping an eye on the trends. Because
right,
if you don't know what is happening in XYZ platform, you won't be able to put your brilliant idea out there. It's a missed opportunity. So if I say, suppose reels have suddenly become so big in the last 1 year, right? But if I don't know how to translate my idea into reels, my big
right,
idea is not big enough, right? So you need to
right,
know the platform, the format. to
Correct.
make it even bigger.
Understood.
So I think in future it's not going to be just about a big idea. We crack a big idea and it automatically makhan ki tarah it goes into all the format places and
Right.
formats. I think that's going to change because
Nice.
sometime the idea could be working backways, and thinking of something cool that can happen here using chat GTP or whatever, and then you retrofit your brand because the creativity works in strange ways. You can't put a
Correct.
formula to it. So this
Correct.
is going to be something, because the way we know communication industry, advertising industry, a big idea comes and then boom. But
Correct.
it might
Correct.
be changing. Now the second thing that I said, that it's going to be a more visual world. It is already a visual world. So now what is happening is the visual symbols or the interface UX
Right.
UI of tech companies and their platforms are
Right.
changing the way common men talk and they operate. I'll give you an
Correct.
example. Now, there was a time when emojis were just those smileys and this. Now, they are part of pop culture. They are part of life. My mom uses these emojis. She sends me that juggler emoji every now and then. She loves that
Correct.
emoji. So, so, and this is all visual.
Correct.
Like these avatars that we see everywhere, this metaverse avatars or whatever. What are they? They are illustrations, right?
Right.
So it's going to be more and more visual led world, which means illustrators, designers, artists, creators, everyone is going should be able to tap on it, and it's good opportunity for us, for creating
Absolutely.
folks, especially for the designers and
Right.
typographers and this. Like, look at WhatsApp sticker packs. Now, this is also
Right.
part of pop culture, right? People respond
Right.
through stickers. What are stickers? They are made by illustrators.
Right.
So, similarly, this before this AI, the trend was metaverse conversation. And
Correct.
if you see metaverse conversation, it comes with its own aesthetics, like very not
Right.
realistic 3D. It's not like PlayStation
Right.
5 3D. It's very
Correct.
little cute, those rounded soft shadows.
Pixar.
So what is it? That is a certain style of illustration that a lot of people were doing already. This technology is going to influence more and more of the global pop culture, which is ultimately a very visual thing, right? So I
Right.
think we will have more of these avatars. We'll more of has in new forms of
Right.
the more stickers. I don't know. There could be a lot of interesting things, but they are going to be visual.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
So first was, it won't be about cracking the big idea only. Second is, it's going to be a more visual led world. And third is, in terms of for a creative person, we will have to wear multiple hats. So there was a time when you would just, you would be good at something and you would keep doing it for 5 years, 10 years. It might change, and it's already changing. I'll tell you, like, few days ago, I saw a post from Adobe that their smart AI integration in Photoshop can already figure out ke asman kaisa aega. So first we thought ke it will only help us do cutouts, which now you can just tap and cut out the object, right?
Correct.
But
Right.
now it can also tell you ke which background will work on it, and
Right.
it may take it directly from the stock, Adobe stock. So with all these things, if you are someone who is doing image manipulation, suppose you are an artist, you are an artist who do these kind of things,
Right.
everything is going to, technology is going to up the game, make it more challenging. But the only solution is to go for it, go learn, keep updating yourself. A typical creative director will have to do multiple things. You will have to know traditional, you will have to know modern, you will have to know bots, you will have to know a lot of different things. So the
Right.
linear ways of working is already disrupting in many ways, but in
Right.
future it's going to be more evident. And I'm assuming even a normal traditional set of agencies, their art directors, copywriters, they are already becoming more diverse. Like some guys are
Right.
doing multiple things. So this multiple hats for a creative person is going to be the thing. These are
Got it.
the things. And lastly, why I'm very optimistic is, so the more technology comes, the the more it becomes non-human environment. right? Because it's all tech. It's all becoming non-human environment. So then the need to build human first interaction will be more critical, because so we will need human first interactions in a very non-human environment, which means basically it's all technology, but it is still being used by people, right? So I think we'll still have to keep an upper hand by creating human first. We'll have to bring our old heroes into the modern world. We'll have to bring that real life touch into it. Otherwise, it will be it will be just robots talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, last point though I love because I fundamentally believe that creativity and design is essentially a process to make things human.
Yeah,
Like you look at a bunch of code on Facebook and Instagram, the layer on top is design because people don't understand code. People don't understand a business model. They don't understand, the
yeah.
recipe. They actually see the final product, which is creativity and design. And it's our job to feed that and make it understandable to, a human being. So great. I think, fully agree and aligned with your thoughts on what the future holds. I absolutely love the whole that one big idea is no longer, going to be prevalent. Because I remember, like, I have some folks in the team who have tremendous experience in ad. They all used to be like, ek bar room mein baithte the. Some people used to, like, take a peg or two, and it's all about, ek crack ho gaya idea, and then everybody used to be happy. But that's no longer going to work at all. And you'll actually have to wear multiple hats as a creator and have a very different approach to crack things which work. So I absolutely love all of that, Nasheet. We are, hitting our time. So I'm going to, use this to kind of conclude the entire session. But thanks a ton for coming in. Over an hour, which we spent talking, was absolutely insightful for a lot of people here. Very action packed and very tactical also. I loved that you didn't go very vague, but gave some specific direction people can actually use today. So thanks a lot for your time, Rashid. I hope you had a good time.
Awesome, man. I love these conversations, and like really enjoyed it, man. It's like very candid, very to the point. I love these kind of conversations.
Awesome, Rashid. So great. Thanks a ton for your time. And hey, everybody tuning in. If you still stuck along, thanks for tuning in. Please watch this space for more. Every month we try our best to get brilliant people like Nasheed come on board across various disciplines and we do our bit to just give back and do some community building. So yeah, watch this space, hit that follow, subscribe button wherever you're watching this, and you'll soon get an update from IndieFolio. Thank you so much. Bye bye.